And away we go. What is going on, party people? I'm feeling rather motivated. I'm feeling like I want to crush some hobbying. What I got today are a few odds and ends. I would like to get to some possessed, but I feel as though the way things are going, I'll end up making a thematic bat rep and probably a detachment showcase for the word bearers. So I want to spruce up some of these old cultists and the dark community here mainly as and I want to clean up the pink straps on some of these legionaries from last night. And so it's an odds and ends stream. Let's take a look at the paint situation. I'm probably gonna start with some reds. And we'll need some Stegadon scale for the straps on the legionaries. We'll be making use of probably corn red, which is in here somewhere. Mix in a bit of Army Painter Pure Red as well. Maybe we'll just stick with that for now. What up, TC? Thanks for stopping by. Playing the old Destiny 2, eh? I never got into Destiny 2. I did play a fair amount of Destiny 1. I quite enjoyed playing the Titan class and the, I don't know, I had a really cool gun called the Thunderlord. It was pretty dope. It was pretty epic. I won't lie to you. Okay, we got some cultist goobers who want to improve the red on their cloak to make it more similar to our accursed cultist standard here. You can see the disparity in attention. So I want to make these three a bit more like the accursed boyo over there. I want to get this little tray out of the way. Where can I put this? Probably there. We'll start with our Resident Evil 4 style cultist champion. Bust out some corn red. I hope the audio levels are okay. What's up, to me to you? Is that right, TC? The Thunderlord is a light machine gun? In Destiny 2? Jeez. I kind of like that beefy feeling of power. Of the heavy machine gun class it used to have. Is there a Thunderlord, like a Thunder God instead? That's now the heavy machine gun? This corn red is, it was dying, and so I mixed in some flow improver in here, but it's not boding, it does not bode confidence. Alright, so we'll start layering in some brighter tones on this cultist leader. I actually don't want it to look like he's human. I kind of like the remake Resident Evil 4 design for the goat-headed cultist leaders in the castle area of Resident Evil 4 remake. I want to try and feed into that sort of look. I think it's rather cool. A quick question, what was the model and shoulder you used for the Night Stalker? Oh, I didn't use that. I mean, that's the Midnight Stalker in that thematic list build is a model from Artel W. That is not something I made. No way. That is a model they have made for purchase. It is indeed amazing, though. I don't disagree. I'm flattered you'd think I made it, though. I mean, but I cannot take credit for that. We get a few layers of corn red down. And I'm going to mix in some Army Painter Pure Red. And it should start to look like our guy here. Oh, thanks, Sindri. Thanks, I appreciate it. That's the goal, right? Gotta make our models look good. And they are just cultists, so, you know, I don't mind being a bit more haphazard than usual. But they just feel a bit lacking, because they were done a while ago. And even then, I wasn't putting too much effort when I did them. Because I've generally not given any of my word bearers too much love as far as hobby goes. I mean, that's not untrue, but I think comparatively, and so we're just chilling in chat. Chilling on the YouTubes. Painting some moodles. Oh, not a problem, to you. I can answer that question. The model's made by Artel W. They have an online store, which I happen to be an affiliate. Oh, I have an affiliate link anyways. So if you use my link to go to their store when you buy stuff, I get like 5 cents or whatever it turns out to be. I can't remember. It's not a lot, but it's something. And Artel's been kind with regards to giving me models here and there, so it also kind of serves that. So if you use my link to go to their store and you buy stuff, it kind of helps out the channel, helps me out in a way. The affiliate link is in the description of this stream, and it should be on that video itself. Yeah, that Midnight Stalker model, man, I tell you, That's a chef's kiss if I ever saw one. Like, if they do a Vulcan, if they do a Vulcan model, it'll just be a take my money situation, you know? Oh boy. I don't like how this guy has his chest exposed, but I don't have much choice in the matter. It doesn't really scream Resident Evil 4 Cultist when you're like, check out my abs. My shredded Cultist torso. But what can you do? I'm not going to spend time converting a Cultist, I'll tell you that. I mean, I think Cultists are important, but... Are they green stuff conversion important? Probably not. Oh, that's awesome, to you. That is awesome. If I was a Night Lords guy, I would be snapping that up. it's too good. It's too good. That model, man. I saw it and I got excited, like, imagining what I would feel if I was a Night Lords guy. I mean, I'm assuming, right? But... Alright, so, you know, he's been embriddened a little bit. Certainly better than he was before. Not as nice as our cursed guy over here. But I think his overall readability it's nicer. Certainly nicer than this starting point that this guy's still at. These are the Zardu something and Blade Slaves. Are they Zardu? They're Zardu is a funny word. There's a 30k. These are 30k models that come with a Chaos Space Marines or a Word Bearer's character, and they make for like perfect Dark Disciples for a Dark Apostle. And the guy they come with is basically primed to be a Dark Apostle. So they are pretty cool. Pretty cool. Feels appropriate for the Word Bearers to make use of that 30k model. We'll start brightening up the reds on these dudes. I've adjusted my OBS settings a little bit, which should make it easier for me to keep things in frame. Definitely something I'm looking to improve on. But then again, like I'm not doing these streams for people to watch me like, oh, don't look away, you must watch every brushstroke I make. This is more of a building, painting camaraderie type thing. Look at all these tubes. It's undoubtedly some sort of life support. It's like, what is this music? Echo Jr. Okay. You know what, generally speaking, Echo the Dolphin has some pretty dope music, if I'm being honest. It has that kind of quality that water levels often have. But this is a bit more, I don't know. Well, it's Echo Jr. I think that's that says it right there. Doesn't have that moody atmosphere that I like. I guess the most interesting thing about this guy is he's got one big Skeletor hand, and then one kind of small human hand. I'm not sure why the Skeletor hand is there. He's just holding out his orbs. He's like, smell my orbs. Smell the incense orbs. Oh, this guy. Why is he holding his orbs out like that? He's just trying to spread his incense around. Well, I think adding the pure red's definitely bringing this guy to life a little bit here. Definitely adding areas of interest, which is what we want. What up, Centra Echo? What is up? You looking to crush some hobbying as well, or just down for the hang? Either way, I appreciate the chatting. I don't know, the YouTube algorithm is a bit of a mystery. I can't really wrap my head around it. I don't know if chatting in live stream contributes the way comments do. I honestly have no idea. But regardless, I appreciate the activity. Oh, made a mistake there. Can we course correct a little bit? I get some black on my palette over here, mix it with some red. Just clean that up a bit. How's it going, Blade Charge? Happy to hear things are going lovely. Now these two make an interesting pair. You got a skinny guy and a fat guy. Quite the comedic duo. You know what? Before we move on from this guy, I think I have some Army Painter Skeleton Bone on the palette here, so maybe I can just do a little bit of layering on the skulls on his banner. You guys see the new Gene Stealer Cultists Brood Brothers detachment? That's a big old bummer, if you ask me. He's restricting the crossfire to requiring Brood Brothers like guardsman units? It was such a fun mechanic. I figured it would just be one of the detachment options for your standard Gene Stealer cults, because that was their army rule before. Not too fond of that design decision. But hey, remember the coolest rule that they had in the previous edition? Now you have to buy more models if you want to use it. It's a big old feels bad if you ask me. Alright, let's paint his plump friend. Give him some very cool red robes. Oh, he's got some wires running into his mouth, eh? Or is running under his hood, anyways. Those could probably be a different color for contrast purposes. Those kinds of small details will actually make a big difference on this guy. Like when you only have two colors so far, broadly speaking, right? Like not counting the metallics, he's got red robes, or pale skin. A third color, whether it's a blue wire or a green one, will go a long way. Even if it was white, it would add some interest, or a light gray. And details like these stitches would also benefit greatly. Especially because on the tabletop, I mean, you have a view kind of like this most of the time. So having these be brighter, these staples or stitches, would go a long way. So that is something to consider for this guy. I mean, ideally, I never want to pick this guy up again, so might as well, for painting that is, so we might as well see that he's done to a satisfactory level. GW equals give wallet. Yeah. I see, Essentra. Yeah, I don't disagree. And I appreciate that you love the videos, man. That's awesome to hear. What's the hardest model you have to paint? Like on the horizon or in the past? On the horizon. It's actually a tough question either way. I think purely on challenge. You know, the hardest model on the horizon is probably going to be the Warp Spider's Phoenix Lord. Just because I picked up the Artel Warp Spider's Phoenix Lord. Well, GW doesn't have one to begin with, right? But the Artel Warp Spider's Phoenix Lord, or Spectral Spinner's Prime, as they call it, is quite elaborate. You have a character in a dynamic pose on a base that is more dynamic than like anything I've seen from GW. It's like, I think that's a fair thing to say. It's a base wherein a portal is, like a warp portal has burst through the terrain where a Space Marine was standing, and his body parts are sent flying because of the portal. I might not be doing the best job selling the premise. It's worth looking up the Spectral Spinner Prime, but yeah, that model is so elaborate, and I think to sell the effect, you want to incorporate some object source lighting, so that's going to be tough. That'll be tough for sure. Might have to do some experimentation. In the past, the hardest model I've had to paint, maybe something, I don't know, maybe something with freehand? Like a free-handed model? Like recently the Firekeeper's banner that I did on stream was, I mean, I don't want to say I was sweating, but I definitely wasn't like, I don't know, you're freehanding an image, or I was freehanding an image that I never painted before, so there's always a bit of apprehension, I guess. It was quite a funny, not a funny stream, but a funny experience. Because it's like, I didn't know if that banner would turn out good, especially on stream. I was like, oh, we'll just see how it goes, right? And then if it turns out to be a disaster, well, it's a demonstration and perseverance was my attitude. But I think it turned out really good. This is weird music. What other hard models were there? The Hive Fleet Gengar Swarm Lord, or Hive Knight, as I kind of fondly refer to him as, wasn't especially hard, because Hive Fleet Gengar's scheme isn't hard to paint, it's just a bit painstaking, because it's the dots, it's the coconut crab dots, popularized by Catgut, right? But the lightning effects on his sword were definitely a similar experience, because it was like, I don't know. I think they turned out well, but it was definitely a challenge. Oh, I guess that answers your question. There's probably something that slipped my mind that's probably much harder than those, though. What's this? Right? Like, what's this? Is this a foot? Or is this like a hoof? A hoof? Or is this his robe in a weird fold? Like another robe underneath his His main robe. Like, what is this supposed to be? Maybe it's worth a googly do, you know, a Google search. Try to verify what that is. I think I'll do just that. Move these out of the way so I can access the keyboard. Well, I need a browser. Where can I get a browser? Without mucking up my OBS, that is. Okay, what was this guy called? Zardu? Zardu, the auto-populate for Zardu is just giving me Guardians of the Galaxy memes. Zardu Layak? Yeah, that's what he's called. Zardu Layak. Oh, so this guy doesn't... Zardu Layak in Horus Heresy doesn't come with these guys. He comes with the possessed blade guys. So I'm looking for... Crap, what are these models called now? It's been so long since I purchased them, I can't remember. Zardu. Okay, I have to go to the Forge World store, or I guess the Games Workshop Warhammer store now. And maybe under 30k I can find this guy? Jeez. What's up, Donzilla? Good to see you in chat. What is going on? I'm doing some research. Some painting research. Okay, Horus Heresy. We're looking at Traitor Space Marines, and I guess Word Bearers. Pretty sure this was a Word Bearers guy. Or it could have been like a Renegade Guard type situation. Oh my god, their store sucks for searching. This new website's the worst. Just the worst. I think it's fruitless. If chat can save me, let me know. Let me know what these guys are called. I'm not asking you to trouble yourself, though, so. Only if you already know. Otherwise, just focus on your painting. Or your building. Working on some sisters, eh, Donzilla? Some Repentia. I am a big fan of the Sisters of Battle Repentia. I think they're very cool. Much cooler than the Celestians and that sort of stuff. That is just my opinion, though. Whoa. Whoa, almost had a terrible accident. You pumped for the new Sister stuff, Donzilla? I just assume anyone who collects an army is excited for a release, you know, like a codex. Oh, speaking of sisters, one of the accursed cultists... Oh, shit! It's not the accursed cultist. It's the Dark Commune. Do I have that guy with me? Is he here? Perfect! This guy! Painted his banner on stream. Nice. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Sisters of Battle helmet, right here. So I did a little questionnaire with ChatGPT, okay? Had a little conversation with my AI friend. And it turns out that the Ebon Chalice is probably the order the Word Bearers would hate the most, because they were the founders, or they were the first, the exemplars, right? The first ones to set the trend of the Sisters of Battle. And so I think that helmet should be an Ebon Chalice helmet. So maybe that's something. Maybe that's something to do in today's odds and ends stream. Yeah, so if these guys aren't from the Word Bearers, they might have been... I don't know, maybe a Renegade Guard. Renegade Guard type. My confidence is shaken. So who wants to bet this guy's head fills up the entirety of this hat? Because I've got a feeling, got a big old cone head underneath that. Just seeing your messages now, Donzilla. Excited for the Codex, as expected. As expected. And that guy looks awesome. I appreciate that. And Patrick Star underneath. Yep, quite possible. I'm too rusty on my SpongeBob memes. I forgot them all. Okay, how are these three guys shaping up? I think they're all kind of equally reddened. I don't mind that they're to a lower standard of paint than the accursed, because the accursed are kind of like they're holier, you know? So I'm going by this kind of Word Bearer's metric here. The accursed cultists are obviously more blessed than these guys, so they're allowed to look better. Okay, so I think he's sufficiently red. Let's just start hitting some accessories to make him look a bit better. He's got a lot going on, like a cultist model, but most of those details aren't picked out. Alright, so where are you? Stegadon scale. Not Stegadon scale, Steel Legion drab. That's what I'm perusing for. Okay, there's Steel Legion. That'll be good for those. I don't know what these are on his back. These canisters, they parchment containers, or you know what? They're like pouches for scrolls or something. So maybe you don't want them. We don't want Steel Legion. Maybe you just want to make them black, or funnily enough, stick it on scale. And for his eyepiece, and maybe even the tubes going into his amplifier there, the wires, maybe they could even be our word bearer's glowing green. It's not a bad idea. But it'd certainly make him pop, make him stand out. Alright, so do I have Stegadon scale in the palette already? Kind of do. It's dying. See if we can resurrect it. Yeah, it looks decent. There is some black mixed in here though. I want to start the layer of black and just do a quick layer of, oh shit, did I ruin that? No. Do a quick layer of Stegadon scale over top to suggest the light altering the material's readability. It's always a balance to try and find for your painting time, right? The balance between how much effort to put into a model versus what's worthwhile for, like, from a practical sense. I mean, if you're just in the pursuit of making things look cool, then it doesn't matter. But a bunch of my buddies are more play-oriented than hobby-oriented, so that's kind of the average I go off of. Usually I put more time into models than they're that my friends would. They would be like, that's adequate. I don't know. But you know what? I have some mighty good looking accursed cultists, so I'll tell you what. Okay, let's see if we can put a bit of steel, or not Stegadon scale over top. Just a layer. Yeah, you know, that's already looking more interesting from the back view there. He's got his bells. So this is a guy, I guess he talks a lot and then shakes his bells to get people's attention. What a weirdo. I think he definitely had a different accessory and it broke. Because this is a Chinese recast. It was very brittle. So whatever accessory had broke, and I'm like, what do I have? I had these bells from my other cultists. And I was like, you know what? He's just gonna be a weird fat guy who speaks loudly and shakes his bells. Man, the golds do not last on the wet palette, man. Well, that's adequate enough. Just to make that detail stand out a bit more. Right on, Donzilla, right on. The Accursed Cultists are they surprised me with how much fun they were to paint, to be honest. Very, very cool models. I'm still technically not done that Psycher. Yeah, the Psycher's a weird model in that unit because it's such a complex model for what is a cheap cultist. And it's so complex that it kind of, like, if you want to paint it like really well, I think it necessitates sub-assemblies, but man, it's a cultist, you know? You want to sub-assembly a cultist? It feels weird. So I mean, I got those models in a trade, so they were already built. So it wasn't an option. But still. Probably want to pick up these details as well, huh? And I guess these should be metal, maybe? No, they can be gray. These, I don't know. It's like a... If you paint the metal, they might look like a zipper, which is weird. It's a weird detail to have. I don't know what to do about that. From like an aesthetics perspective, I don't know if that makes things better or not. Okay, this is Army Painter's Toxic Mist, which I've been using as a substitute for Gauss Blaster from Citadel. And it's become super watery on my wet palette. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the... I don't know. The absorption of water, the osmosis over time in the wet palette. Or if it got mixed up with some... If I just dropped water over it, going from my water pot, I don't know. Oh yeah, Donzilla. Oh yeah. The Psycher in the Dark Commune is, you know, I like to poo-poo and make fun of GW often, but most of their models are very, very good, and that's a great one. So I have to get more Toxic Mist out. This thing over here, you'd think as a paler, chalkier pigment it would not get so watery over time. Generally, they dry out quicker than the less chalky pigments. So I don't know what that's about, but you know what? I think this guy will look real cool. He'll look real good if we make his tubes green. So that's what we're gonna give him, some green tubes. I guess they're not tubes necessarily, they're wires. So is this a bad call then? Well, he's a Dark Disciple. I think it's okay if he's got some glowing accessories. He rolls with an Apostle, right? He's really part of that unit. He's not your average cultist. This is the same, what I'm doing here is the same recipe I used on my Striking Scorpion, not Striking Scorpions, my Warp Spider test model, which I shared. think I shared it here on YouTube on a post, but it's definitely on my Instagram. But I thought those tubes, those green glowing tubes, turned out real nice. It's the kind of low effort but high yield effect that I think just has that sort of innate wow factor. It's like, oh wow, glowing tubes. This is so cool. Really appeals to the monkey brain, I think. Okay, so while that dries, because a Hexwraith Flame layer goes over top of this. But it needs to be dry fully first, obviously. So, I noticed that these tubes could benefit from being blacked. Well, that's an awkward phrasing. I don't think you're allowed to say that. Yeah, regardless, I think already the accessory looks more interesting, having those colors broken up, those silver colors. Much better for readability. All alone today, the Pyro? Yes. Usually, I only have the guys on a Monday, so I don't want to put them out more than that. But, you know, on Sunday, Army joined me for an impromptu thing. He was just sort of, I don't know, he asked me if I wanted a hobby, and I said, like, you know, I kind of do a solo stream on Sunday evenings, sort of, you know, kind of a regular, in air quotes, thing, and he decided to join. But, yeah, usually, only on Mondays I'll have the guys on. Though, you know, open, I believe all members know because it's in the membership perks, but I'm open to having members join the call in the Discord. No pressure. I can appreciate just wanting something to listen to, and, you know, supporting the channel is enough. It's only if members want to, that sort of thing. It just felt like an easy perk to give to members, you know? It's too hard to produce like videos just for members. And it's a weird thing because you kind of, well, I don't know. It's almost like a chicken and the egg situation with that. Look at this guy. He looks so good already. Those green tubes and a Hexwraith wash. Oh boy. Like, look, he looks way more finished than we started. That's awesome. I think he's so fat he has to like place his staff underneath his like gut. I'm just gonna take a bit of off-white and just brighten his eyeball a little bit. I'm not gonna go for any pupil filling in. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's too small also, and you know, pupilless eyes just look more creepy anyways, so it's kind of cool, I think, to just leave it. So I just want to dab in there to suggest an eyeball. Yeah, I think that's adequate. How do I feel about Brood Brothers? Oh, I mentioned it a bit earlier. I think it's It's a bit lame, man, honestly. So my buddy Melon, who was on here yesterday, kind of got into it a little bit. And he's mentioned this, you know, in off-stream conversations to me. This idea that, you know, he's a guy in particular. So this does bias my opinion a little bit, but I think it's subjective still. But, you know, I'm just stating my biases, right? He's mentioned to me that he bought into GSC because he felt the Brood Brothers rule was incredibly rewarding for good movement placement, and I agree, it was, right? Sorry, not the Brood Brothers, Crossfire from 8th, or rather from 9th, from the 9th edition codex. Was that on stream? Was this a satisfying thing to show? I don't know. In any case, the fact that the most satisfying mechanic from the 9th edition rule set, Crossfire, is now relegated to Brood Brothers is the big sad, I think, because now if you like that rule, GW is like, hey, go buy all these other models from your army that you probably didn't have before, because Brood Brothers was always a niche sort of auxiliary component, right? And it's good that auxiliary components of these armies like Tau and the like get detachments. I think that's important. But I think it's lame that that's where Crossfire is, assuming it's not anywhere else, right? If it is, I take back everything I said. You know, it's like, oh, fine, whatever. Like if there's some sort of, I don't know, Primus-oriented, military strategy-oriented detachment, then it's a non-issue if Crossfire is in a detachment like that. But we don't know yet, so just an initial reaction. I'm assuming Crossfire isn't anywhere else. No worries, Donzilla. If the option is always there for members to join until it becomes like a problem, you know. And by problem, I mean like if there's so many members who want to join the call that it's like not feasible to have it. Like it'll always be an option for members to join the stream via the Discord server. What's the base model? The Pyro? Yes, that's an excellent question. I purchased this recast Chinese model so long ago that I can't remember what it's called. I thought it was part of Zardu Layak's Blade Slaves because I run this guy and this guy with Zardu Layak because they make good Dark Disciples. But turns out they're not part of Zardu Layak Blade Slaves, and I can't remember where they are from. So, like, I'm sorry, Anakin, but I failed you. It might be from a Renegade Guard from, like, Forge World. I wish I could tell you. I feel a bit guilty not knowing. Let me see. Let me do another round of research. Let's get a new tab open here. Jeez, loving this columns OST. I feel so dialed in. Okay, 30k. Cultists. Oh, no. Let's say Dark Renegade Guard Cultists. There must be a way. Oh man, all I'm getting is new shit. Okay, making progress. Let's see here. They are Renegade Apostate Preachers of Nurgle. That is what they are. Henceforth, they'll be known as Renegade Apostate Preachers of Nurgle. There we go. We did it, guys! We did it! We have solved the mystery. Okay, so I think these red dudes are looking all right. So what's next on the cleanup? On the cleanup here, we got probably I want to clean up the pink straps on the hips of these guys because I think it's a bit too much. Guys from yesterday. Is that gonna be good? All right. Yep. So, you know, I wanted to denote Slaanesh marks on the squads that are marked Slaanesh, but well, first of all, this guy has the icon, so he doesn't really need that signifier. But in any case, I think it's just like 3 pink straps is just too much. It's too loud. So we're gonna change that a little bit. I'll make this holster back to a darker kind of gray, almost black color, and I'll make the straps blue. This guy doesn't need any signifiers because he's got the icon. That's fine. These ones, however, don't have any icons, so yeah, we'll have to sort something out. Where's the Stegadon scale? You could, Donsley, you could. You could say they're a bit noisy. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I figure the ratio should be like 1 to 2 for these bright straps on these hips. And you know what? It might only apply to the pink, like the Slaanesh marked guys. At least it's a theory anyways. I kind of like making sigils on the tabards of the Chaos Space Marines to denote marks, but some of them, like these guys here, have plates or chainmail instead. So it doesn't really provide those affordances. It's something Chaos Space Marines sort of struggle with. Like there's, you know, they have so much trim and so many like weird sigils and stuff, like it leaves little room for heraldry, which I get. I get the idea, like, oh, Chaos doesn't care about being organized. That's antithetical. But, like, I kind of roll my eyes to this kind of attitude. Like, you need some semblance of structure to function. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just my preference. And it's kind of why I resorted to doing like a gold-handed kind of thing, like the Crimson Fist, because I'm like, there's no space. There's no shoulder pad space to put cool symbols to denote heraldry or whatever, right? That's better. That is much better, I think. Okay, those guys are probably adequate. And since this guy has the icon, he can probably just make all the straps. Stick it on. And you know, if you guys are hobbying, I encourage you to share it in my Discord server, in the Manufactorum channel. Be cool to see the camaraderie on your side too. That's something the Discord is good for. Oh crap, forgot to highlight this rune here. God, without that rune colored in with the hex wraith, he's gonna fail his saves for sure. For sure. Just like that, easy peasy. Probably doesn't come across on camera too well. Yeah, it looks like shit. Looks good in person though, I swear. I'll post some pics after this. Either in a YouTube post or, well, I usually share it on my Discord right after. But you know what, the Pyro? I can appreciate that feeling. I can appreciate it. It's a tricky thing to take pictures that read well. I find more important than the camera. Within reason, lighting is more important. It seems more crucial to better readability. I got the rabble of cultists to do after, but maybe it's best to not clutter the workspace. We'll do the rabble with the Dark Commune icon bearer. Right, so for these guys, just gotta paint the cork pieces on their bases because, as you can see, they're just cork. Now it's a close enough color to the basing scheme I have with the plaster ruins, but I think it would benefit from being painted. It's kind of like how you have to paint rocks, even though they're already rock colored because they're rocks. Later, Donzilla. Thanks for stopping by, man. You have a good night. Yeah, this music has some Pokemon vibes for sure. So here's a question for you guys. This one has been given a bit of blood effects in the seam between demon and man. This one has not. What is the preference? Like, putting aside the bias of not being able to undo something, I'm just curious from an aesthetics point of view. The blood adding or taking away from the overall vibe of these guys? I can paint this rock that color too. Oh, you know what? I just kind of noticed that there's this weird plant or, I don't know, mutation on this rock. What to do about that? I have a buddy who would just snip it off and be like, screw that. Screw having to deal with that problem. Just snip that off and say it's a rock. A regular basing feature. That is an interesting question, Pyro. Very interesting. Magnus as the first returning Primarch being a mistake. I don't know. Like, yeah, who would be better to return first? I imagine your hands kind of tied. You need to bring back a trader before you bring back a Gilliman, and I think that's honestly why that was the order. Because you needed to, you gotta make things darker before you make things brighter, so you get back to like a middle ground. Just like with Angron and the Lion, right? I think that's the same kind of logic at play there. But who would be more fitting? Like, what do you think? Nice Space Batman. Very nice. Hobby tips for a noob. From a building point of view, honestly, take your time and follow the instructions. I have a buddy who is relatively new in the hobby, but he's terrible for not following instructions, which sounds basic, but I think it's worth mentioning. Because that it's spelled disaster for more than one of his models. I'll say that much. Mold line cleaning is very frustrating. It may seem very frustrating in the moment, but it's much less frustrating than deciding to do it after you've put paint down. So definitely try and clear your mold lines before you get to painting. And from a painting point of view, I guess it depends on your goals and abilities. But thinning your paints so you don't overclog your details is a very like tried and true mantra, I suppose you could say, right? But if you're, you know, if you're just having fun putting colors down, realizing your dudes, as long as you're happy with... It's like you gotta paint to a goal that kind of satisfies your standards, and then I think you should try and increase those standards over time, right? But as a beginner, you shouldn't be looking at like these god tier guys on like Instagram and being like, oh fuck, my stuff's shit. It's you gotta compare your work to your work. Other beginner tips for painting: you don't have to buy GW paint. There are other brands of paint that are often better. Usually better for the money you spend, but in some cases they are just better. But most of GW's paints are pretty good. They're just overpriced. Yeah, it's a fun journey to start an army project and have a vision in mind and realize your dudes, as they say. And you put them on the table and you get to try and live the dream, live the stories you read about, all that. Yeah, if you got questions, you know, you can throw them in chat. I'll try and answer them. Sometimes I get too focused in on the painting, and I just am a few minutes behind. There's like a hair or something here. It's very annoying. Okay, I'm just gonna paint this gray. And I'm gonna put like a militarum contrast over top because I happen to have it with me. I just want something neutral. I don't want something to... I don't know what this is supposed to be. Some sort of chaos, like a parasite or something that jumped off of our torment here. It's a weird detail. Or is it just some sci-fi alien flora? I don't... I'm just gonna paint it kind of like an olive drab. We'll do that once we... Well, it kind of needs to dry. Well, it doesn't have to dry before the wash. I want to wash these rocks with some Agrax, probably. The base has already been washed, but I think washing the rocks will help a little bit when it comes to the dry brush phase. Oh, this lady's not quite up to snuff. Adequate, but a bit lacking compared to her bros over there. You bought some Beakies, the cool characters from the Night Lord's kill team. You have 2 10-man squads and a Chaos Lord. Nice. Your first minis ever. Yeah, definitely follow Pete's. I assume that's like Pete, the Wargamer. Yeah, follow his guide. Yeah, it can be a little intimidating for a first-time hobbyer, and you don't want to... Like, look, this stuff is... It's expensive, so you don't want to ruin it. So definitely take your time and enjoy the process. It's not a race. Where's that militarum contrast? This stuff just loves to separate. It's brutal. I'll be right back while I shake this. Alright, all that effort just for a stupid ragweed or whatever this is. And it'll probably mostly dry before the wash goes on, which is honestly fine. I don't care if those colors intermingle for a basing detail such as this, you know? It's not really the focal point of the model. Okay, I'll let that chill for a bit. And let's pull up some Ebon Chalice reference. I don't think it's too hard to find. Ebon Chalice. Perfect. Perfect. It is like the default. It's like the same as our Martyred Lady. Really? Why would they do that? Oh, the robes are different. Whatever. Who cares? At that point, it's basically the same scheme. Oh, your robes are different. Okay. So it's a black helmet with a white visor and red eye lenses. That is what we're looking at. Well, look, it's already black, so most of our work is done. That is certainly true, Space Batman. Forcing having Primarchs return inherently shifts the focus away from the Xeno species. You could make an argument that the Imperium is the central point of view of our lens into the setting. But I would prefer a more balanced approach. I would like more Phoenix Lords to return, for example, but it feels like GW's rationing out their Phoenix Lords and their Primarchs. They don't want to... They want to drip feed us, you know? Which is why I'm glad Artel made the Spectral Spinner Prime. Yeah, if Primarchs come back and they're just focused on fighting other Primarchs in lore, I know players will do what they do, right? Live their wish fulfillment, whatever. But if in lore all Primarchs do is fight other Primarchs, then it definitely feels, as you're saying, just a big family feud, which is a bit eye-rolly as it comes to 40k. You'd want a bit more even representation between the factions. So, like, I can imagine a timeline where for every Primarch that comes back, we get a silent king, and the Primarchs are stretched thin, so to speak. Each one has to deal with this equivalent threat on different edges of the Imperium. Some of them across the Rift, some of them in Sanctus, some of them in Nihilus. I think it can work, honestly, right? But it can't just be Primarchs fighting Primarchs. Like every Primarch that comes back, like, what is Fulgrim gonna come back? And then there's a 5-part campaign series, or 5-part book campaign series, where now Russ comes back just to fight Fulgrim, and that's what it's about. Like, no, don't do that. It kind of devalues the big bads of the Xenos. If Primarchs come back and just kind of ignore them, just fight each other. It is a mistake, in my opinion. Just mixing some off-white with my dark sea gray. Both Vallejo model color paints. Just to build up this Ebon Chalice helmet here. Now it doesn't have to be clean because it is a discarded helmet. So it could get washed a little bit of weathering, you know, and then hit with the same dry brush that the base would get to kind of help it blend in. And by that same logic, we don't need to even get a pure white either. A light gray is more than adequate. Just catching up on your comments now, Pyro. So Gaz can 1v1 a Primarch, or is a Primarch equivalent? If then we lost, or only Xenos that could. Look, if I could have my way, I would want Gaz to be on Primarch level. Datasheet wise, I think he can fight a Primarch. I could be mistaken. I feel like when he debuted, he could. Unless he's been downgraded. You know, just context aside, datasheet beside datasheet. Like realistically in the game, it's just whoever charges who, right? Because both characters have the kill potential, and then how lucky can you get with your invulns or whatever. But so just looking at stats, I think Gaz can. In lore, I would hope he could. You want Gaz and your Silent Kings to be a big fucking deal, you know? Like, there's no other way to put it. They need to be as, in my opinion, as significant as your other faction leaders, like your Primarchs. I see your point, Pyro, with the Cultist and Magnus. Wouldn't the Cultist, I don't know anymore if the Cultist would tie up Magnus. I feel like Magnus is pretty potent in 10th. He seems pretty... I have a Thousand Suns buddy in my play group, but I haven't had to cross paths with his Magnus. So I haven't really played Magnus in 10th edition. And my other Thousand Suns buddy is on hiatus. He's on hiatus from playing his Thousand Suns, so yeah, no Magnus in 10th for me. But I hear he's a big deal. Real scary. Fights well, he shoots well, he psychics well. Oh, I guess Psychic is shooting now. Okay, that helmet is alright. I think with a wash it'll help with the battle damage a little bit. Look, we can just hit this damage a little bit. Just a little bit. Help with the readability. We can do that here too with the white area. Alright. Next, it's up time for Agrax. The Cultist beat Tied Up Magnus, only lost 1 wound. Fair enough. In all fairness, I'll take your word for it. Like, I'm not gonna... this isn't a hill I'll die on. Because I am not familiar with Magnus's datasheet or the Cultist, because I'm not all that into assassins, so I don't give them much attention. Ooh, that's a bit too much wash on there. Yep, I agree. Armor of Contempt and Smokescreen is super obnoxious. It doesn't feel very cinematic. I don't know. I kind of like stratagems. My favorite stratagems are like the ones which create cinematic moments. You know, your epic challenges, right? Your heroic interventions. And to be spending all your CP all game on Armor of Contempt and Smoke, I just, like, it does not spark joy. I don't think so. Maybe for some, they're like, oh, my smoke is so cool. My smoke launchers. Or my smoke grenades. This is the coolest. Alright, we'll put a bit of wash on here. I don't love, so immediately after putting the wash on here, I don't love how brown it it made the visor, but maybe that's the natural order of blending into the environment, you know? I'll rub off most with my finger, but maybe that's how it ought to be. Oh, Captain with 6 aggressors and flamers using 2 CP flamer to do mortal wounds. 0 CP every turn. Yeah, it sounds like a Salamander's thing to do. Not the greatest. Am I missing with anything in chat? Oh, what's up, P Turbo? I missed your earlier message. Yeah, the Salamander's Mortal Wound Flamer strat in 8th had no cap, and then was fact to have a cap, and then in 9th it had a cap, and now it doesn't have a cap. I understand why some stratagems have caps and some do not. Look, I understand, like, the argument for no cap, I suppose, is that it's harder to get things into flamer range to do mortals than it would be for longer range weapons, but when you're doing that many and you have an army-wide assault and land raiders can disembark and keep things safe, that argument begins to hold less sway with me. Alright, so we have a cultist rabble to do some cleanup on next. Some of these guys were purple-ish. They were all barely painted, but some were purple-ish because they had guns. And now, for whatever reason, cultists don't know how to use... well, they only know how to use pistols rather than auto guns. So these guns are just blunt instruments now. They were purple to differentiate them in the unit. Might not come across on camera. So some of them have to be made more gray, and then overall I'd like to give them a quick bit of layering. They don't have to be as good as the red guys from the beginning of the stream. Just a little bit better, I think, would help them out. This is the old pallid skin I was kind of doing. Where are we? You know, it's fine. You know, it's table worthy. I don't think it's worth fixing them or making them nicer because they're not characters or leaders or champions or whatever, but I think that's the way they're gonna be. This guy's a pretty awesome haircut though. It's almost like a cool old man from an anime. Some pretty good sculpts from those older GW models. Alright, so I'm gonna mix some London Grey with some Game Color Black. It's model color London Grey from Vallejo. But where is my tube or my dropper bottle? It's not a tube. Space Batman, your comment it gets me. I'm a Warhammer nerd, of course. I have no friends. So, yeah, I wish I could star or heart comments. That's so funny. It's okay. Look, you got chat. You got us. You got the camaraderie of the internet communities. So it's all good. Yeah, so is this too dark? No, I think it's probably where I want to be. Love this guy with his central processing unit. He's got to stay cool, you know? Got to stay cool. He's got to have a fan right up against his back. Because nobody likes back sweat. I might as well leave some areas purple for differentiation. It doesn't hurt the aesthetic. But I don't want to necessarily draw attention to him by having him be purple. I appreciate it, P Turbo. Thanks for stopping by, brother. Brother. So I think if his face mask and poncho here, or whatever you would call this. If that's gray, that should be adequate. It's really a game of what can I get away with. So that he blends better with the rest of the rabble. Look at this guy. He's barely painted. He might not even be washed. Got a real good face though. What a creeper. The Chaos Bikers need a kit desperately. And I was hoping we would see that this edition, but sadly it is not the case. It seems like the Chaos Bikers are being saved for 11th edition. Because you need to have something to release with a codex, right? This is how it goes. And until then, we just won't see any bikers. Yeah, 11th edition, we'll see. This is my prediction, okay? We have a starter set that'll feature a Space Marine biker captain. And then Chaos will get their new Chaos bikes with their biker lord. And Sisters of Battle will get a biker, a biker canoness. I kid. I just find that concept so funny. It would definitely line up with the marinification of Sisters of Battle, though. Look, no, it might be. I'm just messing around. Well, I'm kind of serious about the 11th edition probably getting a biker captain and then Chaos Lord captain on bike. Or sorry, Chaos Lord on bike with an updated Chaos Biker kit to match. Is probably what they're trying to drip feed us towards, right? But yeah, the big bad could easily be orcs, but like, what does that even mean? It means they get a cinematic at the start of the edition and the first codex, which is good and good at start and then bad after a few months, assuming power creep is what it is now. Well, I don't know. Are Tyranids performing poorly? I don't know. Even if they adjust points diligently, or even to a greater capacity than they are now, you're still going to have, like, bad rule sensibilities in those earlier codexes, right? Like, it feels to me like they're too afraid to increase AP on those codexes, so, like, the Norn Emissary's AP too in Melee, like, it's so lame. And then, I don't know. I think, for the most part, they've been fairly in line with those standards, so maybe it's not the worst, but I'm not a fan of that choice at all. Yeah, I honestly don't know what value there is in being the big bad. I guess you get a range refresh too, that's the implication. But orcs look pretty good. They've been getting, like, updates over time in, like, pretty significant like in disproportionate quantities compared to everybody else when their codexes have been coming out, right? Like in 8th edition, you had a heap of buggies. In 9th, you had all the beast snagas. And you had, like, new boys come out in 9th. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect of 11th edition. Maybe it'll be Emperor's Children or the Big Bad. It'll be like a 8th edition Death Guard situation. These brothers, cultist brothers. God, these old cultist models. It's like... You know what? Steel foil hat? Excellent name, by the way. That's a great idea. I know people don't want more armies because the game becomes harder to manage, but I don't think that's GW's incentive at all. And from a narrative, thematic, lore point of view, I want more chaos factions. I cringe at how small chaos feels right now. And Dark Mechanicum would certainly go a long way. Yeah, you're probably right. Probably Emperor's Children will be this edition, maybe the end, towards the end, and then Dark Mechanicum. That makes sense. That kind of makes sense to me. It will give Vastor something to do. He's a weird character. Cool model, but I guess I got mixed feelings about him. I feel like he's eating up too much Chaos Space Marine real estate. Maybe a contributing factor as to why the Word Bears didn't get a detachment. Jesus. That's a bit too bright. We overblew it. Too much bloom. It's Space Batman. Yeah, how do I feel about the Emperor's Children getting cucked with their sick Fulgrim mini? Feels bad, man. Feels bad. I have a bad habit of getting filled with righteous fury for armies that I have nothing to do with. And I think it sucks. I think it sucks when Mechanicum get a whole bunch of awesome new models coming out in 30k. And then in 40k, as a faction obsessed with preserving technology and using what's old, because they believe what's old is better and superior. Aside from Call, because he's a he's an outlier in that regard. It kind of like upsets me because I feel like if I was a Mechanicum guy, you know, if that was the investment I made and that's how I get treated, I just feel like I'd be pissed. And similar with Fulgrim, right? You get this awesome mini that's like, I don't know why they made a demon Fulgrim in 30k. Like, at all. Like, if demons are beyond time, they're from the warp, they don't exist. Once you're a demon, you're something beyond the natural, right? I don't see why, if you're playing Siege of Terra, Horus Heresy, and all the traders are demons already. Except for maybe, like, Perturabo. Why can't you just use Magnus and Angron and Mortarion in their 40k iterations? What is the rationale? Like, if chat can enlighten me on this, I'm open to having my mind changed, but for the life of me, I can't, you know, nothing comes to mind. And then now you have a 30k model, so you're gonna have duplicates of everything. It's so stupid, in my opinion. Like, for the small Fulgrim, like, that should be the duplicate. That should be the 30k iteration, right? You have your 30k pre-demon Fulgrim in resin in 30k, and then you have the demon variant in 30k, and with, like, rules for playing Siege of Terra. Right? Because if you're playing a Siege of Terra narrative battle in 30k, why are you using regular Fulgrim? Just catching up on chat here. I'll work from the bottom up. 30k Demon Morty is the same as 40k Demon Morty in the book art. Yep. Because money makes sense. Hey, 40k, thanks for that input on the Dark Prussian Blue. Yep, no problem, dude. I'm happy to hear that experimentation worked. What legion are my Chaos Space Marine? They're word bearers. They're word bearers with golden fists, just to kind of differentiate them a little bit as my own, but my loyalty is to the word bearers. And to answer the Pyro's question, no, I don't believe the Slaves to Darkness detachment is at all a word bearers detachment. I think it's very much a generic Chaos Space Marines detachment. And I think the mechanics it provides basically is demonstrative of that. As I relayed in my video. They certainly want us to feel it's a word bearers detachment by putting word bearers in the art of the detachment. But it's definitely not a word bearers attachment. It's a generic Chaos Space Marines attachment. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough, Pyro. I see what you're doing. My mistake. Yeah. Yeah, the word bearers attachment is lacking, that's for sure. Alright, I think these goobers are more in line now. I just want to get rid of this guy's red pants. I mean, we got a bit of a red undertone showing through because I don't feel like doing two coats. But it's a cultist, right? Whatever. Whatever. Should be fine. Okay, here's the palette. We got a grayish black mix here. I'm going to add some glaze medium to that. I just want to start brightening up these cultists a little bit. A little bit. Just paint them from the top down only. It's like only paint the backs of your models. And then to your opponent they're unpainted, but to you they're painted perfectly. Roger that, Pyro. Roger that. Okay, we'll get a gun pile. I'm gonna separate my workspace a little bit. Oh, we've gone too bright. Too bright. Can wet blend that back down? Perfect. Yeah, that's the tone I'm looking for. But that area is too wet. I just ruined my color. Okay. There we go. I just want to create some brush strokes to correlate with the brighter areas, or the areas which ought to be brighter. And we'll go like this. All we need is a single brushstroke in accordance with the folds. That's all these fools deserve. What else? Curious to see the sisters detachment. Well, there's more than one, obviously, but I think odds are we'll get a preview of that tomorrow. Feels like GW has reached a point where they have so many products to preview that they can no longer show each detachment. They no longer need to preview each detachment because they have enough content or products, which is a bummer in a way, because I kind of liked when a codex was releasing, we get a preview of each faction or each detachment. There's so many boxed games and Horus Heresy and Old World things to preview now, but it's like, ah, well, we'll just preview one thing from each detachment for a codex, and that's it. There's actually some nice sculpting on these guys. Can't believe I'm enjoying painting cultists. And it's not even new cultists. These are these lame-ass ones from, like, 6th edition. But they do have some nice sculpted drapery. You know, that's not untrue. Later Space Batman. Thanks for stopping by. I hope your Night Lord's hobbying goes well. Is that dust or just... a bit of debris. How to get so inspired to paint? One of life's great mysteries. I don't know, I suppose... Like, do you mean the act of painting itself, or are you referring to, like a scheme, a particular scheme for for an army or a model? Ooh, the act of painting, yeah. So that's yeah, that is one of life's great mysteries. It's something I think everyone struggles with. So in my local gaming group or friend group or whatever, we often, and we have been for years now, been using these kinds of hobby and chat sort of calls. You know, we usually use Discord or something to just kind of drive motivations. Like, hey, it's more fun to paint with people who are painting. That kind of idea, right? And then after, you know, I got a space set up that can afford streaming, for hobbying and streaming, that is. I was like, you know what? I should extend this to the community, and I don't know, maybe it's a benefit of sort to provide channel members, right? Because that's something else I've kind of been struggling with. Like, how do I, like, I have a, you know, not a ton, but I have a few channel members and patrons, and it's like, you're supposed to give them something extra for that. I mean, you don't have to, but that's kind of like how it is. But anyways, yeah, I think these kind of rambled there, but I think engaging in the act of painting while others are painting it does serve as inspiration, or maybe motivation's a better word, right? Like, you have that camaraderie, knowing that others are on the grind as well, right? It's worked pretty well for my local gaming group. Ooh, painting white is always difficult. There's a pigment limitation there. White pigments are very difficult to work with. Same with yellows. So certain pigments are just more chalky for whatever reason. It's like the composition of the of the pigments. And it makes painting white color schemes very difficult. Lightning Cutter. You're saying just the things I want to hear. I appreciate that, man. That's the intended effect I wanted these streams to have, right? You see someone painted, maybe you want to paint as well. Right? We're all fighting the fight. Jeez. Yep, steel foil hat is right. Airbrush if you can for white. It makes things easier. I still find airbrushing white is more difficult than airbrushing any other color. But it's it looks better than painting it. I did try, so maybe something else worth considering for white is I did try out some not contrast. I used Vallejo's equivalent of contrast. I think it's speed paint, or that might be army painter. It doesn't really matter. My point is, it might be worth considering using a contrast type approach, priming gray, or a light gray, or what, a near white. I even like to prime white. If you can prime a light gray, that'd be perfect. And then just use a contrast white. So your models are really going to be gray, a light gray after all that. But, hear me out, you might be able to just do a dry brush with white to kind of brighten it up a little bit. At which point, you don't really care if it's chalky pigments because you're dry brushing. I think that's the, you know, if... Well, that's what I did with the Beal Tan stuff, right? That's exactly what I did. I might actually have the paint here. Here it is. Yeah, Vallejo Express Color. So you can see it's like, well, I didn't shake it, but it's basically like this kind of color. And it creates a cool kind of gray undertone to define your white scheme. Yep, exactly my experience as well, Pyro. The white primers are so chalky and chunky, they prove difficult in the airbrush. So we will have to do something about this guy's chest. It wasn't even painted. Terrible. To let this guy dry for a bit. Try and do something quick for his skin, but hopefully ends up looking like the rest of his bros. L Distancer, I see your message. Sorry. Sometimes I get a bit too focused in on the painting. I appreciate that you enjoy the videos. It's always great to hear. Not the most enjoyable stream and segment here. Geez, painting Cultist is... I mean, I think painting accursed cultists isn't even a funny or an exciting premise. But regular cultists? Please. But they must be done. They must be improved. I would like to, the plan is to do probably a Word Bearer's Bat Rep, a thematic one, and then maybe a few guest ones on some other people's channels. Possibly. But that necessitates the army getting painted to a little bit better of a standard. So, like for Cultists, this is as much attention as it'll get. Because I don't think... Well, they're not the stars anyways, right? I suppose it's different if you're playing a Chaos Cult army. Like, every cultist matters, right? But if you're playing a Chaos Space Marine Warband, like, it doesn't really matter that much. Oh, look at this guy. He's got a little book. I didn't even know. How funny. Yeah. It's a cool kit. Something my past self did, which I forgot about. Probably to hit this with some Lamian Medium to get rid of this shine, but I don't think I have any with me. No, I do not. We'll try some of this Vallejo Glazing Medium. See what happens. We'll just put a layer of this stuff on. Wonder what detachments we'll get for sisters. The index attachment for sisters very much is the Our Martyred Lady energy, full force, but probably get a jump pack something or other, right? Because we know there's a jump pack captain and a jump pack battle box. It falls in line with the sensibilities of the Night Lords, or sorry, the Chaos Space Marines release and codex. Then you probably get something for, like, the sinners, you know, the people who must repent, like your mortifiers, your repentias. And then maybe an all-out, like, Berserker, Bloody Rose style detachment. And then with that, you might have all the the themes covered, I think. So it's like, what, a 5 detachment codex? Alright, this dude, still wet. Okay, let him dry some more. How many we got more? 6 more goobers to paint. Well, they're mostly painted. They just gotta get some layers. And then look, the reward for painting cultists is we get to move on to possessed, which is way cooler. Way cooler. I've set a reward for myself. Right? Sometimes you gotta trick yourself into doing what you don't want to do. Yeah, this guy has some interesting folds on his on the sculpt. Yeah, am I crazy, or is this guy like low-key really cool with his pose? Why is he posing like this? Why did I build him this way? He's like the hero cultist with his cool plague mask. %100 lightning cutter. He has main character energy for sure. Look at this guy. Okay. It's almost too cool. Wonder if that's worth a post on the Instagram. You know, there was a point in time where I was like, you know what, I'm only going to post things on Instagram that are finished and, you know, display worthy. And over time, it's sort of just become a, I am alive, and I painted this, here's some progress kind of thing. I don't know if it's good or bad. I mean, I think, obviously, you probably want posts to always, content to always be of good quality. But assuming all things are average, I don't think it's, I think frequency is better than infrequency. That seems reasonable. A reasonable assumption. He might be a Crip or a Blood. I don't know. I don't know. Depends which one has a better detachment rule. man, making some errors on this guy. Well, we're gonna do some skin painting on that other dude, so we'll keep him aside. God, we're nearing the end of these terrible cultists. You know what his hair is like? It's like Heihachi. I think that's his name, from Tekken. Just needs a mustache. Or, you know what? I can't remember how that guy looks. Reminds me of the guy from Tekken. What's up, Snorris? Just saw your message here. Question, how did you build out your Chosen? I would like to build my models WYSIWYG, but for the loadouts of these guys are really confusing me with the new loadout and what I find online. That is a fair question. How I built out my Chosen? I don't have Chosen. I turned all my Chosen into, like, characters. I have a particular vision for my warband where I feel like if you're elite enough to be a Chosen, you would just become a possessed. That's kind of how I just thought it'd be neat. But to answer your question, how to build out your Chosen, their war gear options are so bizarre. Because it used to be whatever you want, and now GW moved to a system where, well, as we all know, you can only equip your guys based on what's in the kit. Except for when they decide to break that rule. But for Chosen, they want to stick to it, which is so difficult. I think you can have... let me think here. Like 2 accursed weapons, and everyone has an accursed weapon. One guy can have 2 accursed weapons, and then you have some variants of plasma pistols and combi weapons, I think. It's, I think you probably want combi weapons. If combi weapons are the cost of other options, they're probably the right choice. Except for maybe 2 accursed weapons, because I think you might be getting more attacks in that case. Because Chosen advance and fall back and charge, right? That's the ability. So they're definitely fight-oriented. So maybe that answers your question. I think, God, I wish Chosen could just be like, whatever you want. Because when you can build your Chosen however you want, it really allows you to have the freedom to allow your legions shtick to shine in the veterans. Right? If the Iron Warriors Chosen are just a bunch of thick boys in Mark IV iron armor, that's Mark IV, right? No, that's Mark III. They're a bunch of thick boys in Mark III with combi meltas because they just want to melt tanks. That's sick, right? But yeah, whatever. You get the point. Does that answer your question? I think you want to go with combi weapons. Your shooting's bonus based on the current rule set. You get some dev wounds with your combi weapons, and then you're trying to advance and charge and fall back and charge into tasty targets, maybe with the support of various leaders. Happy to help. Happy to help you, Snorris. Snorris. Sorry, sometimes I'm paranoid that I'm not properly reading people's usernames and just calling them calling them whatever I want, essentially. Which I'm trying to avoid. I feel like I'm really phoning it in on this last one. Maybe that's a natural order. No problemo. I like the at to get my attention, because then it really stands out. Alright, so we'll do some skin colors. Skin colors. What are we looking at here? I don't have that color, the Pallid Witch flesh I used on those guys here. Maybe I can mix my way there. I got Rakarth and Pale Flesh, which are kind of similar-ish. Still, this is so white. There might be another color I have here. White Flesh. That's closer. Still a bit more rosy. These colors are just better than the palette which I used before. Whatever. His chest will just be like of a healthier skin tone. Nothing wrong with that. And then, look, we're almost out of Cultist jail. This is pretty good. Pretty good. Let's spot fix this guy. That's actually adequate enough for him. And then this guy's chest, because it looks weird if his chest is just black. Okay, maybe I can just work over top of this. Maybe it's not worth being too picky. It is just a cultist after all. Alright, just paint that pale flesh over top. You know what? Close enough, right? Doesn't really matter. He's a freak. And a cultist. I got some Steel Legion on my palette from before. Might as well paint his little pouch. Wonder what he keeps in here. Maybe some coins. Yep, pretty adequate. Alright, so the cultist rabble is more uniform than they were before, and I think they look a bit better, to be honest. Those layers, I think... Oh, this guy's layers kind of suck ass. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost out of cultist jail. I feel like this fire, like at this size, would like melt his face. Right? Like, that's pretty freaking huge. That's pretty funny. I find it funny. Alright, so we'll put these guys away. Make some space here. So into the tray they go. These goobery doos. And can move on to some possessed action. What time are we at? Okay, okay. We're gonna go late. We're gonna be super tired. That's okay. Because possessed are exciting, and I kind of wanna put the paint on them. Oh yeah, get the torments out of here, and I kind of want this guy out as reference because you'll see my converted Master of Possession will require this is kind of like a painting guide. I want to back engineer this result, so to speak. I might not get to it today though. You know what? It's almost certain I won't get to it today. But here are the possessed, and they are pretty cool. Pretty cool. You might have seen some of them on the Tzeentch ones anyways, on that thematic bat rep I did at the start of the edition. But the Slaanesh squad are not, they've never been on camera, I don't think. But the Tzeentch ones, even like the paint jobs aren't up to snuff. But they're quite fun with the conversions, right? So I gotta brighten up the armor on this to bring it kind of to a similar standard as the Legionaries. But each of these guys are fairly converted, or at least kit bashed. There's two more from the Tzeentch squad here. I felt like the ones with shooting and fiery details should be part of the Tzeentch squad, because you know, fire and such. Here's the fifth Tzeentch possessed. Just the coolest, man. Possessed are so rad. And the Slaanesh ones, we have this Greater Possessed here with a horn detail from a Slaanesh Fiend, which I thought was a cool fit. And I think I extended his tongue a little bit. But he's alright. He's not the most fun. We have two more Galvor back. This one I don't think has any conversions. This one has a series of Demonette claws for a custom arm. So these guys are gonna look, I think, really freaking good once they're painted. And we have another Blade Slave here who's lost his sword for a chain sort of weapon. And what else? The Master of Possession, which has some subtle conversions, but I think they go a long way. Right, you have a little Slaanesh, let me get in focus here. A little Slaanesh icon. Some Slaanesh horns replacing the horn that used to look like this, which I think is a cool detail, because a lot of Slaanesh demonettes and other Slaanesh demons have this half-horned situation going on, as per the demonette head here, which has been, I think, fairly seamlessly blended into what would ordinarily be a standard Master of Possession backpack icon, I guess you could call it. But I think it's, you know... Oh, there's a book here, too. That detail we might remove that, because I don't particularly like it anymore. But, yeah, I really dig how this came together. Subtle, but I think cool. Cool. Definitely awesome for a Slaanesh marked Master of Possession. Good hanging with you, Pyro. Thanks for stopping by on the stream. Alright, let's just start layering in some reds. Using Foundation Mechrite Red. An oldie but a goodie. I actually mix this down quite a bit with glazing medium. And mix in a bit of Game Color Black to darken it, and it creates a pretty rich but dark color, which I like for the word bearers. I don't like how I actually don't like the GW word bearers red color. Mechrite Red is fairly similar to Corn Red, but I think there's a subtle difference. You have to avoid the decals. Yeah, this is very much an operation type paint job. You have to stay within the trim. Oh no! Well, you know what? There's inevitably going to be casualties that will require subsequent cleanup passes, but such is the tax. The tax of not finishing a paint job fully with plans to return afterwards. It's a decent blend here. I think we can push that a bit more. There's definitely a focal point on his chest. unlike the Legionaries, I'll probably end up doing some edge highlighting on these guys because I think they'll be worth it. There are at least a few areas that aren't trim. Yeah, probably want some light areas on the upper thigh here. This is pretty chill music. And I was like, what is it from? And I look over, it's Dick Tracy. Never would have guessed. I wonder, is this the game AVGN did a review for way back when? I just saw your comment, Snorris. What are your thoughts on the Codex? Your favorite attachment as of now? You are referring to the Chaos Space Marines Codex? If so, probably like the Night Lords one the best. It's a bit of bias there. Probably. Well, of the core legions, I think their detachment might be the most emblematic, or let's say most thematically strong. As far as like an accurate representation of what they are, I think Black Legion is pretty, like the Veterans Black Legion one is pretty thematic as well. I mean, you know, what's your detachment rule? It's Oaths of Moment, which stacks and layers nicely with Dark Pacts, so it's by no means bad. And the whole shtick with the theme of that attachment is to represent the old ways before the legions fell to chaos, which is not necessarily the best route to go for Black Legion, in my opinion. But like it's fine. It is a theme you could go down for them, right? Like I don't know, what's the Black Legion about? Is it about the legacy of Horus, or is it about Abaddon's New Order, right? They're kind of competing concepts, but it's fine. It's fine. I think from a gameplay point of view, it's a cool addition, and I guess if you're going to give it to any of the Traitor Legions, it would be them, I suppose, because you probably want to flex and lean into shooting and vehicles more with Iron Warriors. And Iron Warriors is, for that reason, ranks a bit lower than Black Legion for me, just because I can't help but feel some of Iron Warrior's tools may have been pilfered for Vashtor. They have that stubbornness that Iron Warriors have. But I was like really surprised there's no Warpsmith stuff, unless I'm mistaken. I don't have it like all committed to memory. But if memory serves, the 9th edition and Faith of Fury did give Iron Warriors tools to have to create the Warpsmith type unit using Warpsmiths, which is such confusing terms, but I feel like that's important in the same way you want to create a scary jump pack guy for the Night Lords, you want to create a better Warp Smith for the Iron Warriors, and you want to create a better Dark Apostle for the Word Bearers, right? Like, that's kind of what you'd want to do for each of those legions, because they kind of... Well, not necessarily with the Jump Pack Lord, but for the Warp Smith and the Dark Apostle, I think, yeah, definitely you want to serve those source points. And then, well, yeah, I like Alpha Legion. Yeah, I guess my rank order would be Night Lords, Alpha Legion, Black Legion, Iron Warriors, and Word Bearers in order of, like, satisfaction with how each of them were, what they got, how they serve the themes of those legions. Red Corsairs is fine. I just... Look, I like Huron. I like Huron Blackheart. I like the Red Corsairs. I just don't... I feel like if you have a generic Slaves to Darkness detachment, that covers... It covers them. It covers the vast majority of Renegade chapters. Because it is the generic detachment set. Oh, that might be too bright on that side. It's a nice contrast, though. I'll say that. I'm gonna get a bit more of that color in here. It's definitely a tricky balance because it's definitely a color I don't want to blend, like a threshold I don't want to cross. Yeah. Unlike the Legionaries, well, because I don't have Chosen and have greater significance on Possessed, I feel a bit more pressure to make these guys badass, you know? I suspect there will be a Possessed arc of streams because of that. Can't just simply bang them out. Oh, hell yeah, Snorris. You just finished the Night Lord's books? Which books in particular? The ADB ones? I haven't read the ADB ones myself, but I've only heard good things. Yep, the Omnibus, I'm pretty sure that's it. Very cool. Very cool. I don't know if the Word Bearers have any highly recommended books for 40k. There's good ones in 30k. Also by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. Oh boy, coming up on 11 p.m. We gotta shut her down. Shut her down. Okay. Well, not much to show on this guy. I feel like we're gonna do a possessed renaissance and really make these guys dope. But you know, he's a good foundation, I suppose. He's like a plasma possessed or something. He's got a tube. So not the coolest stuff for showcase for this week, that's for sure. Or not for this week, but for this stream rather. You know what? It's this guy. This guy gets the honor. The honor of closing the stream. Yeah, Goblin. It's definitely that Obliterator energy. He's fusing with his weapons. Okay, so yeah, this guy gets the honor of closing out the stream. Our speaker man who speaks loudly and swings his bells to get the attention of other cultists. If you made it to the end, guys, as you know, you are the real heroes. Thanks to everyone who joined in, chatted, liked the stream, and I hope you guys are able to put a good dent in your hobby projects as well. I think I covered everything there in the outro, so thanks again for tuning in and participating, and I'll catch you in the next one.